Hello out there YouTube, this is SCL0320 here for a brand new movie review. The movie review I'm actually doing today is going to be on the brand new Matt Damon feature, Elysium. This sci-fi epic in and of itself it's really breathtaking. Every moment, every second, everything that you are kind of seeing with the movie trailers really don't necessarily do it that much justice when you actually see what's really taking place. From the character development, from the twists and turns that's going on within the storyline, from the political, from the racial, different things that are actually going on within the story. There's so many different elements to it. But I'm going to go ahead off the gate and let you know. So we're going to go into visuals. So visual effects for this one far exceed my expectation levels. I saw the visual effects of what I'm expecting of a brand new 2013 sci-fi epic. It's just amazing. It's no need for 3D. It's just a grand scope of an immersed world. And when the same person that directed it was Neil Blomkamp, he actually was the one that directed District 9. And District 9 did a really good job of creating a world that made you believe that these aliens that were on this earth were there. It was believable. It was such good CG that you're like, okay, I can see this. And that's probably the way it was actually shot. And so this one, versus how they did it with District 9, which was kind of like a first-person narrative, which is kind of documentary, this is a full-fledged sci-fi epic. And so when they're going into space, when they're going through different scene to scene, and it's interesting because the Earth at this point, I think it's like 2164 or whatnot, Earth is this, it's such a wasteland. When you think about the United States versus what's going on in the Middle East and all different other countries around us, they are in such a harder position than like maybe Europe or maybe the United States or South America. And so based on that standpoint, everybody is in kind of the state of how we're looking at them to be. And it's just, it's overcrowded. There's no medical relief or anything like that on Earth at all. And so what they do, they have mostly robots that are taking and governing everything. And just the way they actually use the robots without any kind of facial recognition of expression. Like you can see, man, these things are hostile, they're racial, they are bred to not necessarily care, and it's all part of the visual effect of it. And then when you get to Elysium, we look and see it's the opposite of that, where people are living the lush life, future is like, okay, this is how the future is supposed to look. And it's just an amazing world and an epic look. And if anybody have actually played Halo, or if you looked at any kind of like narrative that kind of a space colony in a sense, that's what this kind of looks like. And it's just really well visually done. I've even seen scenes like, I'm not sure if any of y'all have seen Gangster Squad. There's a scene where Ryan Gosling goes through the door and he's about to kill Mickey Cohen or Sean Penn's character, and you see his face moving from side to side like that. I actually see those kind of effects in this, where Matt Damon is actually coming up with a confrontation that he's about to fight, and it's just so epic in the way they actually do it, and I pay attention to it. And so visual effects for this, I have to give it a 5 out of 5. What surprised me was actually the score. The score for this one, I really like the score. There was so many different subtle differences that were going on. In the beginning, you see the introduction of Matt Damon's character, Max, and how he's brought up, not necessarily with parents, but with nuns and XYZ, and it's just such a soft kind of tone. But then by the time you get to where he's at, you're like, you know he's gone through a lot. And the pacing goes through, so when other characters like Kruger, and other people where Jodie Foster's character comes into play, it's just a subtle kind of tone, but it's so like pinched, you know. And so I really like the score for this. I have to investigate who actually did the score for it. I probably won't be going to see it again just for financial reasons, because I went and I saw it in IMAX, which I highly recommend seeing IMAX. It's not a 3D IMAX, it's IMAX, and so it's really great in IMAX. So the music or the score With the visuals, I have to give that definitely a 4 out of 5 for the music, 5 out of 5 for the visuals. I really like that. As far as the acting on this one, so everybody knows Matt Damon. I mean, what has he not done? I mean, Contagion, go far as back as Born, Good Will Hunting. The man can act. Okay, when you've seen Green Zone, and when you see, of course, the Bourne series, you see that he has the ability of doing the action scenes. And lately he's been doing more so like the family-oriented and not necessarily very passive. With this one, y'all, he is on his top notch. He's a different character than he's kind of played before. This character has skill and ability, but the way that society is basically created, I mean, he's a byproduct of that. And he has a history of violence, and he has a history of doing some bad things, but not really, really bad things. And people respect him, but at the same time, like, it's just like every day that he goes and he wants to go to Elysium, and you can tell over his face and over his heart and his mind that he feels as though he has a greater purpose, but he's just not reaching it. And things are just going terrible for him. And Matt Damon plays it so well because there's a situation that happens to him, and it's so unfortunate early on in the movie, and you can just see just the destruction all over his mind and over his heart, and like he plays it to a T. Tears and all, anger and all, just the way that he brings a level of seriousness to this role, it makes it believable. You know, and if you don't play this kind of role right, and with a lot of science fiction movies, if you don't play it to a serious tone, it will not keep you in that world. You're like, okay, they're joking, this is, you know. And even when he does make a joke, like, you know, he's being serious. He's trying not to get angry, trying not to lash out. And actually, all throughout the movie, to be honest with you, he's really trying to hold back. He's not trying to go and lose it. And that's just, I give credit to Matt Damon for that. Jodie Foster and her performance in this, it wasn't her best. To me, she definitely did play the role of this antagonistic just person that just irks you, you know. And I mean, she brought professionalism to it. I just think that she pushed it a little bit too hard with the accent. And now I will say that the people that are on Elysium, they talk a different kind of way. It's not snobbish. It's like they have their own kind of strict kind of dialect, and that might play into why I didn't necessarily like Jodie Foster's overall performance in it. But I mean, of course, she can act, you know. Even towards the end and what happens with her character, I really respected it. But I mean, to me, who really shined in this one is the character Kruger, and what's his name? Charlton Copley. He played the reporter, or the person that was doing the documentary for District 9, and the director brought him back in for this one. And I was thinking, okay, this guy is skinny. I've seen him play in A-Team. I mean, he's not necessarily something I would see as Ross. But then I looked at the trailers. I was like, is that really him? And I realized it was him. And so then looking at the movie, he, to me, almost steals the show. I can't say he steals the show because Matt Damon does such a really good job in his whole transformation as well. His character is vicious. His character is evil. His character is mentally unstable. He's packed on some weight and muscle for this role. He knows hand-to-hand combat. He knows how to take care of himself. He knows how to be the villain. And you're looking and you hear him saying things that sometimes you can't necessarily hear because he's got such a distinct accent. But when you do hear him and the things that he says, it's just like, this guy will kill you. And you can't anticipate what he's going to do next, or what kind of other abilities that he actually does to terrorize people. He just goes, and when he kills people, he takes pleasure in killing people. And it's almost like he's racist to anybody that's not him. Like, I mean, he respects his men. He respects necessarily the authority on Elysium. But everybody else is just expandable. He used them just like cattle, you know. And it's just, he does such an amazing performance with it. I hope he really gets recognized. I don't want to say he should be recognized over Matt Damon, but to go and change your character so much and your body like he did, he deserves some kind of recognition for that. The other person, which her name is Alicia Braga, she plays Frey. That's actually Max, or Matt Damon's friend. I think she did a really good job. Her and her daughter, they brought a level of love and concern. You have to have something that's worth fighting for, and they brought that to the role, and they brought a sincerity to the role. They brought like a heart to the role, and it was a necessity for Max in the whole grand scheme of the storyline. So to me, I thought the acting was on par, y'all. I have to give it a 4.5 out of 5 because Jodie Foster kind of let me down in a sense, but I don't necessarily blame her because I know she can act. So 4.5 out of 5 for her acting. And then, okay, so we're going to go into the story. Of course, this is not going to be a spoiler review, so I'm not going to go into any kind of spoilers whatsoever. I'm just going to go based on what you're seeing in the trailers and then what my perception of the storyline. So, storyline for me, it was very well put together. It was written very well. I'm not sure if this came from a book, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was. If it wasn't, then whoever the writer was that corresponded with Neil in this did a really good job of conjoining the political beliefs and the racial indiscrepancies that we are dealing with today and how they would unfold later on in the future. It looks very possible. And to put that on screen in such a science fiction kind of dynamic and such an action kind of film, this is not necessarily an action film. This more so is a thriller that has a real meat, that has a real heart in the inner storyline. And to me, going back in, like, if I looked at it again maybe 2 or 3 more times, I could say, okay, this is this political party they're going against. This is that racial thing that actually happened in this. Because in the beginning of the whole movie, and y'all seen this in the movie trailers, Max, like I said, is really just a decent person. He's had an interesting past, but he's trying to make an honest living. People are picking at him for even trying to make an honest living in an earth that is not stable, that has no hope. Why are you trying to make an honest living? Why are you trying to do this? You know, and he's like, I'm gonna make it. This is not gonna be the end. And so he's going off and going to work, and all of a sudden this robot comes and racial profiles him, looks at him, uses racial profiling, and not only puts him down, he breaks his arm for no good reason. And even when he goes back into work, like, his boss is profiling him. And it's just so many different levels of judgmental kind of things that it adds a real meat to the substance of the storyline. And then on top of that, when you look at the science fiction aspect of cure for cancer, cure for leukemia, facial reconstruction, muscle growth, so many different technologies that are being implanted into the storyline of, okay, this is what we're capable of, and this is what the people of Earth are allowed to actually have, you know. And I mean, some people actually think in this day and age that there are different things that military, government based that actually have access to that the civilian population have no access to. And so it's like there's a direct parallel going back to the movie. And I just really like the storyline, y'all. Max goes through, like I said, a very horrific experience, and to try to save his own life, he has to get to Elysium. Like, it's his only option. In doing so, he's going to put his whole life at jeopardy as well. Even though, I mean, he doesn't have an option either way. And that is where him and Kroger collide. And the fight scenes, y'all, the dynamics between him, Frey, Kroger, Jodie Foster's character, it's just really good. I'm not going to say it's a happy ending. I'm not going to say it's a sad ending. It's a complete ending, and it's a realistic one. And at the same time, it's one that's actually fueled from hope as well. Not necessarily the hope that you want, but a real hope for a progression for this day and age, and then how they actually built the world. And see, the way I'm sitting there talking about it now, that shows you that they did a really good job of bringing me into that world. And so I really love the storyline for this one, y'all. I know I'm giving this a high rating, but I'm giving the storyline for this one a 5 out of 5. So with the exception of the 4.5 out of 5, this is one of my favorite movies this summer. I'm glad that they ended the summer on a really high and a good note. So go and check out Elysium. Let me know what you thought about it. Leave your comments at the bottom. Sorry I haven't actually gone and done the White House Down and Pacific Rim. I will try my best on tomorrow to go ahead and do the review for Pacific Rim and have that up for y'all. Either way, y'all go check out Elysium. It was epic. See it in the IMAX. It was worth it. Have a blessed one. Have a good night. SCL 0320. Later, y'all.